Hello, everyone, and welcome to the December 12th regular meeting of Town Council. First up, I'll be looking for a motion to adopt the agenda. Councilor Warlaw makes the motion. Any additions or deletions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next up, the adoption of the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Councilor Curtis makes the motion. Any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay, no delegations, no correspondence, no financial. Lucky you. Okay, next is business, FCSS. Chris, you'll take this?
Yep. Thank you, Your Worship. So this is a report drafted from Julie Gottslieg, our FCSS manager, through me. So the topic is FCSS Advisory Board member. We're proposing accepting Brian Butler as a member at large on the FCSS Advisory Board. And the background is, at present, the FCSS Advisory Board has vacancies, and Brian Butler has submitted a letter indicating his interest in serving on the Vegreville and District Advisory Board. Brian states, and I quote, "We have been part of the Vegreville community for more than 30 years. For a number of years, I was active in the soccer program as a coach and referee. Our family continues to be active in supporting refugees and new Canadians in our community. In addition, I have worked for a number of years in the areas of education and humanitarian projects in Africa and Central America. The experience of both local and international living would bring a unique perspective to the board. As an educator, it has been a privilege to be involved in the schools in Vegreville and area. I continue to be involved in the fields of education in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania through the creation of digital learning platforms," end quote. The FCSS Advisory Board is pleased to recommend Brian Butler as a new member to the FCSS Board and is confident that he will be a definite asset. No financial implications to this matter. Communication strategy is that a letter from the Mayor's office indicating acceptance of Mr. Butler's application to serve on the FCSS Board would be forwarded. And the recommendation is that Town Council approves the FCSS Advisory Board recommendation to accept Brian Butler as a member at large representation on the FCSS Board for a 2-year term commencing December 2nd, 2022.
Okay, thank you. For a motion for the recommendation, Councilor Berry makes the motion. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Warwick.
I just wanted to say I think that Brian will make a very good addition to the board. He's attended, just as a member at large, a few meetings so far. And I know that clubs and communities and organizations have been struggling to give volunteers. So it was very nice to have him reach out and come forward. We didn't even have to approach on this one, and he actually had come forward to take part in some other FCSS initiatives prior to, so that's greatly appreciated.
Okay, well, I will thank Brian for putting his name forward, and I know Brian, and I know he's been a very active member in our community for a long time, and I think he'll do well in that position. So, with no other comments, all those in favor? Carried. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. So exact same topic here, second board member, also a report from the FCSS manager. This one is to accept Faith Browning as a youth representative on the FCSS Advisory Board. At present, the board has vacancies, and Faith Browning has submitted a letter indicating her interest in serving on the Vegreville and District Board. Faith's main focus is to offer a valuable perspective from Vegreville youth point of view. She has a passion for volunteering and working to ensure our town remains a great place to live for all ages. The FCSS Advisory Board is pleased to recommend Faith Browning as a new member to the board and is confident that she will be a definite asset. No financial implications to this one as well. Same communication strategy. And the recommendation here is that the town approves the FCSS Advisory Board recommendation to accept Faith Browning as a youth representative on the FCSS Advisory Board for a 2-year term, also commencing December 2nd, 2022.
We're looking for a motion for this recommendation. Councilor Bullock makes the recommendation. Any comments? Councilor Curtis?
Thank you. Yeah, Faith's been at a few meetings as well, and again, a youthful perspective, and definitely into volunteering. She talks a lot about that, so happy to have her on board and happy to work with her.
Go ahead, Councilor Bullock.
I'm very happy to see that Faith has applied to be on the board. Definitely, if you've seen her out in the community, you see her with VTSS, Sunshine Seniors Club. Just always participating and always a smile on her face and putting a good foot forward, volunteering at many different events in town. We're lucky to have a youth that wants to be interested and do that in our community. We're very happy to have her on board.
Okay, well, I want to thank Faith for putting her name forward, and it's nice to see the youth in our community getting involved in nonprofits and trying to make a difference for sure. I would imagine she's got some proud parents there. Okay, so no other comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Next up, CAO Laggett again.
Thank you, Your Worship. Shifting gears a little bit on this one, the topic here is the County of Minburn Sub-Regional Economic Development Framework. Background is during 2022, the County of Minburn began exploring options for a sub-regional economic development initiative with the Village of Innisfree, the Village of Manville, and along with us. This work has resulted in the following project and grant funding scoping document, which is attached to the report. Financial implications, no direct financial costs would be incurred by the town for this 3-year initiative, as highlighted by the scoping document. The town of Vegreville would, however, be expected to contribute in-kind costs of our internal economic development department by way of staff time to liaise with Outlook Market Research and Consulting. Project-specific costs can be found on page 9 of the attached scoping document. Our communication strategy would be that the town would communicate our partnership with the other municipalities in this beneficial initiative. Additional project-specific communication information can also be found on page 4 of the scoping document under step 3. The recommendation is that the town of Vegreville provide a certified resolution to the County of Minburn indicating our support for the sub-regional economic development framework as outlined in the attached scoping document.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to support this recommendation. Councilor Curtis makes the motion. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Bullock.
I think it's a good idea when we can work with our regional partners and anytime when it comes to economic development, because just everyone in the area just makes a difference when it comes to economic development and surrounding areas around. So looking forward to see what comes out of this.
Nobody else? Go ahead, Councilor Rudick.
I'm curious to see how this evolves. This is a big change from when I first came onto council, and the County of Minburn had never attended Economic Development Board meetings, so they joined our board, and it's sort of developed since that time. So I'm excited to see what kind of conversations we'll have and find the hiring of an EDO an interesting concept for the region. So I'll be interested to see what kind of feedback. My question would be, is this will be coming to the department? Will council be apprised or hear periodically how things are proceeding? Is there any indication how they'll share information with us?
Well, I think first of all, if we pass the recommendation that we are supporting this, and then there will be an application go out for the grant funding, and then it'll be probably a year in setting it all up. But I'm sure that through our own economic development department, that we will work closely with them, and there's never a bad thing about when economic development when you have regional partners. So we'll start the process here by giving a motion that's on the floor right now that we support the idea, and then they'll be the lead on this grant, I guess, right? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. They're hoping to have our resolution there tomorrow to support the grant application for sure.
Okay. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, appointment of Director, Emergency Management.
Also me. And just to close off, I just would like to extend a thanks to the County of Minburn for offering us the opportunity to be a part of that project as well. I think it'll be quite beneficial. This one's for, so the topic here is appointment of Director of Emergency Management, often referred to as a DEM. So the proposal is to appoint Protective Services Manager Alan Weiss as the Director of Emergency Management. The background here is that the Emergency Management Act, RSA 2000, Chapter E 6.8, requires that each municipality appoint a Director of Emergency Management. In the past, the position was jointly filled by 2 co-directors of emergency management, but with the introduction of the new Protective Services Department, the manager position will take on the duties of the Director. The role of the Director consists of the following: act as a chair of the Municipal Emergency Management Agency, act as chair of the Municipal Emergency Advisory Committee, act as the director of the Emergency Coordination Center, ensure the deputy director or directors of emergency management are designated in his or her absence, coordinate all emergency services and other resources used in an emergency event, ensure staff of the town and members of the Municipal Emergency Advisory Committee and Municipal Emergency Management Agency, as required, complete training to maintain effectiveness in the event of an emergency, and perform all other duties as prescribed by the local authority. Communication strategy here. Written notification will be forwarded to Alberta Emergency Management Agency and County of Minburn number 27. A media release will be distributed to the local media and town staff. The appointments will be posted on the town's website. And the recommendation is that Town Council appoint Protective Services Manager Alan Weiss as Director of Emergency Management for the town of Vegreville, effective immediately.
Okay, thank you. So I'll be looking for a motion for the recommendation. Councilor Lemko makes the motion. Any discussion? I guess it's pretty straightforward. It falls right into what he does, and so, yeah. Okay, no discussion. All those in favor of the recommendation? Carry. Thank you. You got one more?
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, last one. So this one's to appoint Deputy Directors of Emergency Management, and this would be to appoint Dale Lefebvre and Sandra Ling as Deputy Directors of Emergency Management. Background here is the purpose of the Deputy Director, often referred to as the DDEM, is to assume the role and responsibilities of the DEM in their absence or in the event of a large-scale incident requiring mass mobilization of emergency services. The DDEM is required to have the same training as the DEM to fulfill the role. The past practice of the town has been to appoint 2 deputy directors of emergency management. Same communication strategy as the previous RCD. And the recommendation here is that the town council appoint Dale Lefebvre and Sandra Ling deputy directors of emergency management for the town of Vegreville, effective immediately.
Thank you. Look for a motion for the recommendation. Councilor Barry makes the motion. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Lemko.
Yeah, it's nice to see that Director Lefebvre still stays in that capacity as a deputy director. He's carried this portfolio for as long as I can remember, for 25, 30 years. So a wealth of knowledge there, and this keeps some continuity into what's going on, and probably mentorship to the new Director of Emergency Services.
Well said. Is Director Lefebvre, is there training and stuff that goes along this? Like what Sandra would need to go get training and stuff for this position?
She is trained already, is my understanding. There's a few basic courses to take your DEM 100, 200, 300, and 400, and then you can expand from there. I was fortunate enough to be formal training at the Emergency Preparedness College of Canada, where I'd attended several sessions there and got the training required. But yes, there's definitely training to do.
And there's yearly exercises too that you would be attending, and Sandra?
Right. Typically they're tabletops because they're more economical, and they test the EOC more so. And then once in a while we have a full scale where the fire department, police, ambulance, everybody goes out, hospital. But those are expensive and a lot of commitment of time from all the staff of all the agencies. So those happen about once every 5-7 years.
Okay. Any other comments, discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And who is taking on the new bylaw? Director Saski, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship.
So this is a request for council decision, and the topic is 2023 fees and charges bylaw. The background is the annual fees and charges bylaw is passed at the December council meeting to allow for fees and charges to come in effect on January 1 of the budgeted year. The following schedules have been reviewed and require changes. So these are a summary of the changes that have been made from the years past. Do you want me to go through all of them one by one, or do we want to talk about what everyone has questions about?
Well, I think we've all read them and stuff, and there's a couple of questions that are gonna come your way. I don't think we need to list them all.
Okay.
I do have one that I wanted to start with.
Sure.
So, the new bylaw for, the paper statement. So, how are we informing the residents of Vegreville about this? So it's just gonna show up on their paper statement on in January 1, or
It'll be-
January the 8th?
So we have been informing residents that the paper statement is coming into effect. Anybody that has been new or registering, our utility clerk has been very good at saying, we need an email so that you don't get charged the fees. We were planning on doing social media information, as well as we could offer some forgiveness and not do a statement fee for January and have it effective February, and just maybe put a pamphlet in on January 1, saying will be in effect for the next utility billing, because the January billing is for December of 2022. So there are options available there. We could discuss how we want to put it into effect, but long story short, we're gonna do some public education, and then eventually it'll just be on the bill.
So the last statement that people receive for December, or for November's billing in December here,
Yes.
and the newsletter that accompanied the scoop, did it say anything in there about it?
That I would have to clarify. I don't know off the top of my head. That would have been good to include in the scoop, though, yes. So we could do that for January.
Go ahead, Councillor Barry.
It just struck me, I think it would be difficult to be telling them that something's going into place until the bylaw is passed.
Yeah, well, that also as well.
So I think now is the time that they would have to start truly informing of some of these changes, assuming this is passed.
So before we go much further, is the council willing to give residents any grace period on this new fee? Councilor Bullock?
Yes, I think we'd at least a month grace period on that, because it was mentioned on the radio, I do believe.
Yes, we have.
Because I heard back about it already. So they're concerned, obviously, the person that I talked to anyways. So I would like to see that happen, to notify them as much as we can. Like, lots of information sometimes isn't enough, but the more we can do, the better for now, so. And they want to be reassured that if they do sign up, they're not gonna be charged for the statement fee, so.
Go ahead, Councillor Rudick.
It was on the radio, so I did hear that, but I think probably I would allow for 3 months or something. There are people that go away for the winter, and they may not also see it in their first statement, so maybe that's too generous, but I do feel like it does take some adjustment. People have been paying their bills the same way for decades. And so just because we do something on social media doesn't mean the people that need to see it are going to see it. I actually would be also amenable to advertising the traditional way as well.
Well, I was thinking of including in the utility bill an actual full-page thing that says, this is your last utility bill. If you don't sign up for this, then you will be charged a paper statement fee. Like, no different than I've seen them with TELUS and Direct Energy. They send you kind of those last couple bills saying, these are your last ones before we start charging the fee.
Right.
And it's a piece of paper, you can't ignore it.
Yeah, and I do think that, in general, the way of informing people requires several times. Most people don't listen the first time. And this is a change in our process. People have been paying, again, the same way for millennia. They'll feel that this is a big change for us. It won't be, and even convincing them that it is a cost savings won't feel like that, because they're paying to get paper. They've always had paper. So it will take an adjustment period. So I don't know if anybody else feels like traditional advertising might also be effective. Definitely in their bill. And I don't think once is enough.
Well, I don't imagine TELUS got a lot of feedback about it, but just spend 7 hours trying to get through to them. People just give up and they'll pay the money so they don't have to try to talk to them. So it is something that is gonna be troublesome. First of all, try to implement it all in 1 month and have people phoning in. So I would support a grace period between 1 and 3 months and much advertising as we can do. I know we budgeted a certain amount and hoping some of that paper trail was gonna go away to reduce the cost. But I worry that there's a lot of members of the community that are not on social media or like me, sometimes when I open my bill, do I actually read the whole thing and what it says? Maybe not sometimes. But I think that if we show that we're trying to get everybody on board as quickly as we can, I don't think any more than 3 months would be worth it. But, so, any other thoughts from council on this? Go ahead, Councilor Curtis.
Thank you. I don't know about posters or anything, or what are we doing is when people walk in right now, is it up on the wall up here, where as soon as they're gonna see it when they walk in, are we telling everybody?
As Counselor Barry had noted, it's really hard to advertise something until it's formally in the bylaw, because then we would have the backlash from the public to council, and then you guys would be, whoa, wait, we haven't actually approved that yet.
I guess then going forward,
Yes, yeah, for sure. We can try and post in our office as well, just to like let people know we have that plexiglass wall, so we could definitely put a poster up right in between the two stations.
thank you.
Any other comments?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I would say 3 months would be sufficient. I would like to see it go in the newspaper actually too.
That's traditional advertising, so
Yeah, okay, thanks. And then, yeah, because, well, backlash is already coming.
So procedurally then, do you want any of these changes from this made as a separate motion, or do you want this cumulatively recorded? How would you like to do that?
Probably a little bit easier to track if it's individual motions, I would think, Councilor Rudick.
So if I could make a motion then to amend, I won't go to the page number then, I'm just going off of the changes, so
Can we
the
just
paper
say-
statement fee in Schedule A, under administrative fees. Sorry,
So effective April 1st or March 1st? Give them all the January, February, April 1st, so that would be, they'd
Yeah.
have the 3-month leeway.
allow for a 3-month grace period with increased advertising through traditional methods, as well as public notification in the office, as well as notification in their traditional statements.
And this is only to do with the paper statement fee.
Correct.
Nothing else on Schedule A changes.
Correct.
So everybody understands the motion? All those in favor? Carried. So when we vote on the bylaw, we will vote on the bylaw that has been amended.
As amended, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, we'll start, Counselor Lemko, you have any other changes that you'd like to identify or some questions about any other fees?
I understand the fees have to go up, and my only concern was with the fee for the aquatic and fitness center, family pass, was a substantial increase from previous. I believe it's $100 and some increase. And that's the one that really resonated with me more than any.
I can comment to that slightly. So in the past, the family pass was good for 2 adults and up to 3 children, and then there was additional fees for each additional children. They removed the fee for additional children and just made the family pass all-encompassing. The family pass, like if the way that it worked, if you were, let's say, a single mother, it actually almost was more valuable to buy a family pass than it would have been to buy an adult all-inclusive pass and a child inclusive pass. So they have moved it so that the family pass is for, families that are quite large. And then, so if you were a single mother, you could just buy the adult pass and the 1 child pass and still have some benefit there.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they're, like Dan had explained it, that some of the fees did go up, but in the end, it's still then now more economical. There's no reason that a single parent and a single child should be more economical to buy a family pass than it is to buy the 1+1. So that's where he got those numbers from.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Lemko.
Then in saying that, if there's a family of 4, mother, father, and 2 kids, is it $100+ increase in fees?
That is correct, yes.
That's right.
Okay, any other comment on that fee? Go ahead, Councillor Bullock first.
Yeah, that fee is $149.50 more for that. The 6-month portion of it was $47.50 higher on the 6-month pass for the family pass. So you explained why there. Portion going into the senior section, the 1-year pass increase on the seniors up to $315, which is a $63 increase over the previous year. And on the 6-month, it's up to $210, which is a $42 increase over the 6 months. So that's just for the senior. I'm a little concerned with some of the seniors that have mobility issues that use the pool and stuff like that, and that might be on a fixed income, so I'm hesitant to want to see those go up in that. That's where I'm at. Could you explain for me there?
I can just to speak to those family, or the rec center fees in general. I know the manager of Parks Rec and Facilities did do some research with respect to comparative fees for other municipalities. So those were sort of in line with that. Despite the fact that we were seeing some increases on our own, there was a comparative analysis done there to try and bring them in line with other municipalities of similar size and scope, I think.
Okay, so right now, Councillor Lemko's question is on the increase. So I think we all know that admin has done research at other municipalities and where we have identified that we are not anywhere even near the middle. We're well below the average when it comes to our fees, what we charge the residents of town. So we're gonna deal with the family pass first. So do you have a recommendation that you'd like to make, or?
No, mine was just a note that that is the fee that is going to be asked now. I have no recommendation either way.
Okay. Does anybody else want to, okay, Councillor Rudick?
I had a question, not a recommendation about that. Just because it's not in here and I hadn't been asked before, but there was a request for, or a query, whether or not we offered multiples other than a family purchase. So it was a business that was looking for a Christmas gift in the form of a pass. And we don't have that here. And I don't know if other municipalities have that. I don't know that it would be very utilized. Maybe the punch pass is something that would be an option for the gift. But there isn't, like, a business couldn't buy this as one of their health and wellness packages, for example.
So I do recall from our meetings with the manager of recreation that we had to investigate a little bit. Obviously, an entire corporation, are we talking town of Vegreville size, or are we talking mom and pop shop with 3 employees? That could significantly impact the number of people that are coming through our facilities, et cetera. So like if there's a 100-person organization and they all decide to go swimming on the same night, we need to hire more lifeguards for that one swim. So I know the manager was gonna look into that a little bit further, but was not able to put anything together specifically for January 1 implementation.
That's fine. And as long as it just stays on our radar too, that would be helpful.
We'd also had quite a bit of discussion around just the very straightforward punch passes to use for those purposes. So we've got a 10 and a 20 card punch pass, and those would seem an easy peasy solution to deal with something like that, so.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Wolf.
I'm just a little torn on the family one because I do believe that we were low. My only concern with that is it makes sense what you said, Director Saskew, as far as the 1 and 1. I guess my only concern is if we get back to the 2 and 2, I know we're still low, but it seems like the most benefit goes towards the really large families. And I'm not trying to generalize, but for the most part, I think it might be fair to say that within the town of Vegreville, it isn't necessarily that many large families that would exceed those numbers. So there is a potential that cost savings, while it makes sense for the bigger families, might actually be cost savings more so to a larger group that is not taxpayers of the town. That would be my one and only concern with that. I still think it's a very reasonable rate. I just would hate to see us make that change for more so people that were outside of the town. That's my only thought on it.
Okay, so if a family bought a pass, 2 6-month passes, it's cheaper than the year.
No,
It isn't?
make me do math.
Okay.
No, it's more, yeah.
Okay. I just heard some numbers just flying around here, right?
Well, no, it's just over last year, the 47 on the 6
Okay.
months. It's more than last year. The actual 362.50 is what it is for a 6-month pass proposed right now.
Okay, so the difference
Yes.
in buying a 6-month pass?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
from last year to this.
okay,
Saving $100.
yep. Okay, so if there's no recommendation on the family pass, then we'll move on to your questions, Counselor Bullock.
Not on the family pass, no, it's not.
Okay, so Counselor Curtis, do you have anything that you'd like to see in this fees and charges bylaw?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Counselor Rudick.
I asked my question.
So about, and we're gonna look into a punch card.
They're already listed in Schedule R, Your Worship. We have,
okay.
yeah, we have.
So that's something that businesses could access.
Yeah, we felt that might be, you know, and perhaps a little bit of staff coaching there, but if that situation presented itself that somebody wanted to buy some passes, you know, a large number of them, 10, 20, 30 passes, the staff will be coached to offer them the 10 or 20 use punch cards.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Warwick.
I'm okay, I just have the one question on that.
Okay. Counselor Bullock.
Moving on to the other stuff, okay. So on the senior side of it, when the aquatic fitness center fees, I'm just not comfortable with, that's just the way I feel. I'm not comfortable with raising the rates on the seniors at this day and age with everything else that's gone up lately. I am concerned about the people with the restricted incomes at this moment, and I'd like to motion that we go back and keep it as it was for all the seniors' rates.
Okay, so there's a motion that to leave all the charges for seniors at, and it's just not at the pool, it's at anything that we do. Is that what you're?
On the aquatic and fitness center
Okay,
fees.
okay. Any comments?
Can I ask a question again? So currently, as we're looking on page 24 to 33 of the document, it shows the senior yearly pass as $315 and the other rates as laid out. What are you asking that it be moved back to? What's the dollar amount again?
2021 fees and charges. I'm just gonna find it here. Page 6. So the 1-month pass, correct me if I'm wrong, no, that's been removed, so the drop-in daily rate was $525 before. The 6-month pass was $168 instead of $210. The 1-year pass was $252. The 10 punch pass was $48, and the 20 punch pass was $90.
So, sorry, the difference between 2021 and 2023 is $63 for the annual pass.
For the
52?
annual pass, yes, 63 difference there.
Okay, so we have a motion for recommendation on the fees and schedule for the aquatic center to deal with only the seniors at the increases to the seniors from Councilor Bullock. Any other comments? Go ahead.
Your Worship, can I jump in? Just, we'll need a seconder for the records for that, because we've actually started into the discussion phase here, so.
We need a seconder for his recommendations. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, who wants to second it?
Councilor Berry? Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you want him make another comment?
Yeah, I guess I appreciate the fact that everything has gone up. If we take the $315 for the senior and divide it through 12 months, it works out to $26.25 by my math, which seems very reasonable. And there is also the option for any of these passes, if they receive a medical note, to be able to get a discount. I know that those that are on the heart, I don't even know what the proper terminology is, but those that have been recommended to have the recovery after a heart incident can also get a prescription from the doctor to get a discount. I don't know how many people actually do that. And while I'm very sensitive to the fact that costs are rising, and I certainly don't want to pit two populations against each other, I actually think that the increase in the family pass might be more onerous at some stages in life. All that to say, I do still think that this is a reasonable amount for that pass. So I appreciate your motion, Councillor Bullock, but I don't know that that is necessarily an onerous amount or an unbearable amount.
Okay, we'll call a question. We have a motion. All those in favor of the motion? 4. Opposed? So noted. So you had nothing else, do you have anything else, Councillor Bullock?
I do. I want to go to, get back in order here. Bear with me.
Can
So-
I ask a general question while he's in? Okay. I just have a question for CO Leggett. On any of these things, when we pass them, we still would have the opportunity, should something change within a facility, to amend it. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so this will now be part of the amended motion when we go to pass this bylaw. Okay, what else do you have there, Councillor Bullock?
Just questions on Schedule E, page 9. So in the previous bylaw, these two things weren't in there. The permit extensions, maximum 1 year, $150. And then the variances, $125 an hour. Those are just new, just explanation on that. It wasn't in the previous bylaw. It was page 11 on the previous bylaw, the 2021, the current one.
Yeah, the variance was just done gratis, and people can request a variance on a lot of things now, and they have been. So now, to make sure they're serious about it, if you will, then we put some skin in the game by saying it's a $150 charge. It does take time. It's a bit of a recovery for us, for them to apply for something like a variance.
All right. And I get, yeah, the permit extension, it's self-explanatory.
Just, yeah.
Okay, that was the question on that one. On Schedule G, page 12, on the proposed bylaw, Section C, the community niche, it's showing as $250. And in the old, or in the current bylaw on page 15, it shows it at 500. So I just need explanation on why the change on that one.
We have not sold one.
Okay, all right.
So the niche is filling up and no one's using the community part of the center. So we're ready to move on to the next niche. So,
Okay.
So the thought is that at the price that it was, we weren't drawing interest for the intent of what it was for. So obviously we're outpriced. So we've reduced it again because there is room for a lot of community niche
Okay,
interments. Thanks.
all right.
Councillor Riddick?
Yeah, sorry, that was one of my questions. Do we share, because this is a process that we haven't utilized in the past, do we share this option with the funeral homes so that they're able to share it with their clients, just to be able to highlight, because this is different. Most people are not familiar with this in this setting. We're used to having your own niche, your own grave site. This is a little bit different. How do we share that information?
When we first passed the first fees and charges bylaw with this information, and it went to our local funeral homes. So they have the information sent directly to them. I know Elaine has sent it a couple of times now, so, and we will send again.
Okay.
Next one I just have a question on is on page 15, fire fees and charges, 9.0 fire standby per hour. So on the proposed bylaw, it's $650 per hour, which last year it was on the last bylaw it was $350 per hour. I'm just curious why.
Thanks, Councillor Bullock. Sorry, I'm just trying to find that page here. That's schedule
Page 15,
J.
Schedule J.
Unfortunately, I'm actually drawing a blank on that one. You remember, Dale? Yeah, please.
Councillor Bullock, this is to take our fee for a truck and the manpower that goes with it and mirror it to what Alberta Transportation is currently charging.
Okay.
So if they are charging that for when we do any calls on their primary and secondary highways, then that would be a recovery rate for us as well.
Okay, all right, thanks. On page 22, under Schedule P, Parks and Campground Fees and Charges. On that one, I see the Pesica putt per game, that's fine. I feel that there's actually something missing in this bylaw, and it didn't come to me until I was reading it over. So we have the Borrow Bike program, which is great. It gets people to get on the path and get downtown. As a tourism initiative, I know, to get people downtown to see what we have in town to offer. So I think that's a good thing. That's offered free of charge to anybody who comes to the park. The part that I see that's missing here that I thought about when I went through all this over the past couple of days is the Borrow Boat program. The Borrow Boat program does not actually take anybody downtown. It's a good attraction, and we do know of all the repairs that they have needed and the cost that goes in repairing them. We're not actually charging anything for that. I think we should actually be charging the same thing we're charging for the Pesica putt, is a $4.76 fee, so we can recover some of that cost of when these boats get broken for replacing, because they seem to be getting a lot of wear and tear on them. And I personally seen where they're breaking and stuff like that, and that's just from normal use, aside from the vandalism that's happened. But I think that would be something I'd like to see added to this section, to Schedule P, is that we should look at actually charging for the Borrow boat, not the Borrow bike, because the Borrow bike gets people downtown. The boats are an attraction. It brings people in and people use them. And people from our community using that stuff, it's attraction, keeps them around. It helps keeps them around, but we should be charging for that, in my personal opinion, just to cover the cost of the, like, even the repairs that we're having to do to them, instead of the taxpayer picking up the whole price on that. That's my feeling on that. So I'd like to make a motion on that one, that we actually introduce a fee for the Borrow boat for $4.76 for that one. Children 5 and under free.
Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I'd like to ask the councillor, I think he started to explain it there. I also actually agree that I think the Borrow Boat program should at least recover some of the cost for maintenance and storage. But I was wondering, do we charge it by the boat? Is it, and this is partially a question, you can sign it out for 3/4 of an hour?
Half an hour, 3/4, yeah.
I think that's what it is, 3/4 of an hour. So we'd be putting a use on the boat as to how much it costs for the 3/4 of an hour, and then a limit as to the number of people that would be on it, or do we charge per rider? That'd be my question as to which would be the more sensible way of doing that. Thank you.
let's get some clarity from Chris here first, CA Leggett, then we'll come back to you, Councilor Root.
Yep, thanks, Your Worship. So just generally speaking, yeah, definitely, if it's the will of council, we'd be happy to add a line in there about the boat usage. Just speaking to the volume of people in the boat, the boats themselves kind of limit that. I believe they're only 2-seaters. Are they 4?
You can fit 2 adults and 2 children.
2 adults and 2 kids. So yeah, you know, yeah, it's up to you guys, however you'd like to run that, for sure. Any bit helps. You know, the notion that it would go to recover some of the costs for the boats is definitely, definitely there, so.
Go ahead, Councilor Rudick.
I think probably in this instance, while I understand the intent, Councillor Bullock, I think probably it's a good idea to go back and revisit what the original intention was, because I don't think the boats that were purchased were industrial. Those are the type that a regular person would go and use for paddling around. So I think the intention originally was to bring people to the park. I understand the differentiation that you've clarified and that the perpetual cost, just based on the sheer volume. So maybe it's time to revisit that, and maybe this is a good time to refer it back. I don't think that we should be making, in this particular instance, I think it would be ill-advised for us to make that decision right now. I think we probably need some more information and take a look at the original intention, what was actually purchased, because I don't think that was the industrial strength machinery that was purchased, because it doesn't stand up to the type of use that it's got, because it's being used a lot. So if I could, maybe it's a good one to refer back to that department to be able to find out some more information and bring that back, because I don't think anybody will be using it in the next little while.
Okay, well, I just don't know how many people want to stand in line. I mean, taking the grandkids there and waited 2 hours to get on it. I mean, most people that pull into town probably would wait if it was free, but that's just my opinion. I mean, it's something to do on not everybody's gonna enjoy it, first of all, so I would be against myself charging for it, but any other comments? Because there has been a motion presented here on this portion of the fees and bylaw.
I can speak to Councillor Rudick's point. These are definitely not the industrial grade paddle boats. These, I'm not sure if there is such thing as a residential or common use paddle boat, but that explains some of the breakdowns. And my thought process when it comes to marketing is, once you apply a price, you better make sure that you're providing the product. And until we're at that stage where we've implemented those industrial type boats, those ones that are absolutely positively guaranteed to withstand the use and abuse, I would recommend not putting a charge in place. That's something we can look at in terms of adding those to the fleet of paddle boats. But as of right now, these are residential boats, for lack of a better term, and they're just not up to snuff that I feel comfortable charging anything for right now.
Okay, Councilor Curtis.
Thank you. Just the stats, we had 553 uses of borrow boat, which at $5 would translate to $2,765, which I'm sure would buy us a couple good boats. Regardless of whether they're heavy duty or not, people are still using them. And if your boat breaks, I'm sure you could get a refund and be like, hey, here's your $5 back, your boat broke. I see no problem in doing cost recovery, and then we can start using this to implement the more industrial models.
Okay, so any other question on the motion? All those in favor to charge for the paddle boat experience at $5 is a boat?
$4.76 per use, which put a GST at $5.
$5.
Easy to pay for. I guess $5 per use of the boat.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that one stays the same. Councilor Bullock, do you have any others in there?
Okay, Schedule U on page 28 on the social center fees and charges. So I see the changes from the daily rate on halls A and B, 400, I believe, to 800 on the daily rate. The difference I'm seeing is that there's nothing listed about a kitchen in the proposed bylaw. So does the $800 include the kitchen on hall A and B?
Thank you, Councillor Bullock. Yes, it does. That was one of the goals of the department manager there, to simplify the fees and just roll it into one usage fee and not separate them out.
So is it safe to assume it'd be the same for the next two, hall A and hall B?
I believe so, yeah.
Include the kitchens, because there's big differences.
Yeah, just, and that was, as you noted, the previous bylaw had a lot of lines in it,
Yes.
right? So, that was one of the goals with this one, was to really condense it and simplify it and just make it easy for not only the public, but for the staff as well.
So I guess I'd like to make a motion for the hall A and B, hall A and hall B, is just add the wording includes kitchen use.
Any other comments on that? Go ahead.
Okay, so just so that I'm reading this correctly, that would suggest then if somebody was renting a hall for a wedding, they would effectively, basically have it from 7 PM on Friday till Sunday at 4 PM? Okay, and I don't know, I'm just, maybe my memories are, it just seems like that's quite a change from what it was. I'm just thinking years back when family rented it, we were paying a huge fee for the day that we actually decorated, like multiple hourly fees on the Friday, and then Sunday, we would never been able to have a gift opening without renting it again. I'm not complaining about the fees, I'm just feeling like, is that a change that just sort of happened, or or maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but I just, it actually seems like we now have the hall for much longer time than what we would have in the past.
Longer or shorter?
Shorter.
Yeah, sorry, and I don't have the other one in front of me to be able to compare it to, but it used to be Friday.
This is Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. On hall A and B, on the per day, it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So Friday, Saturday, or Friday and Sunday. Or Saturday and Sunday, so to speak, sorry. And kitchen was extra.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know what you just said about, was it longer or shorter? And I said, oh yeah, but I meant actually the other way. Because when we rented it for the wedding, we paid for a block of time on Friday. We paid all day Saturday, and we cleared out, because if we would have wanted to be there till 4 o'clock on Sunday, we were paying a third time. Not necessarily saying it added up to more, I just didn't remember it being put together. Like right now, to me, this is a package. You could rent it at this package, come in and decorate Friday night, have Saturday and have Sunday morning. I'm not opposed to that. I just want to clarify that, because it seems a little different than it used to be.
Yeah, it was $550 on Friday, $550 Saturday, $550 gift opening Sunday. So if you add them up, you're at $1,650. This is $1,500, and it's just yours from Friday to Sunday put together.
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Director
But to
Sass.
add, it's Friday at 7 PM. So if you want the hall all day Friday from Friday 8 AM to decorate, you would have an additional daily rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's giving the option for people that don't have a whole bunch of decorations or having a later Saturday wedding. They don't need to pay the Friday rate, or they could come in at 7 and just quickly through what they need. But if they did want the full Friday to Sunday thing, then they would also have to rent the hall Friday. I believe this was done because there is more competition for those Fridays. So there might be a funeral that would happen early in the morning, or any kind of other event, like say there's a fundraiser or something. There are social events that happen Friday morning, afternoon at the social center. And if they're not actually utilizing that for decorating, it would be, like I said, we've given them a little bit extra time on Sunday and have made available that time on Friday that's actually more likely to be rented. So if they do want the Friday for decorating, they probably will have to pay the daily rate.
And then I guess my question to that is there an end time? Because I know, again, in looking at past rentals, basically people were told you have to be out by this time, and then they were being charged extra money per every half an hour. So I don't see how that's captured here. So I'm specifically taking it back to a family wedding. It was like 3 o'clock, and we incurred hundreds and hundreds of dollars extra because we weren't out till 4:30. The way this shows right now, essentially you'd have to shut down as according to a liquor license, but you could stay in this hall round the clock if you wish to. By the way, this is that, okay, I'm seeing it right.
I believe so. That I would have to clarify to be 100%.
But when you rent the hall, we have rules and regulations what time everybody has to be out by.
Yes, and that's also garnished by like liquor licenses, et cetera, so they have to stop serving by a certain time.
Then everybody has to be out of the facility.
So then you don't actually have it from Friday at 7, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I did have a question about this too, because of course, this is the one that most people either only rent the social center for one event in their life, a marriage or a death, and they will have a positive or a negative experience, and then we'll have those that have every year use the facility for a specific event, and they're gonna have a memory of using it for a long time in a certain way. I'm not saying that this is bad or good. I just know that for volunteer groups, for example, and caterers, they often use the Friday kitchen for cooking and decorating, not the evening. So this is a different practice, and maybe it will be fine, and maybe it will be useful to be able to offer the facility for a funeral as well as a wedding in the same weekend. I just would like to prevent as much challenge as we have, because there will be challenge with the way that it's laid out here.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Well, if somebody rented it the day before the wedding for their caterers, then they would have paid the full day price.
Yeah, but they would have done, and I guess, if they're getting the package, their old way of approaching the package is that they were using it during the day, and they were using it during the day. This is skewing it to evening, day.
Yeah, I like it myself personally. Go ahead, CAO.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. So the motion that's on the floor is to add language. I'm wondering if council would be open to the idea of adding language to perhaps satisfy that section as well. Something to the effect of, there's no overnight stays, or, these hours are assuming that everybody's out by midnight and you can come back in at 8 a.m. or something along those lines, right? Because the way I'm hearing the conversation, there's some thoughts that maybe people would stay around the clock 24 hours even outside.
No,
of the
the
liquor
building
license.
doesn't allow for that.
No,
I mean,
and that's
like,
it, yeah.
On the list of the usage of the social center, which is usually posted there, what time the liquor has to be stopped serving by is determined within the permit they buy, but we have our own. And what time everybody has to be out of the facility, and then what time they can come back the next day. What this does is it gives us an opportunity to have some function earlier on the Friday. Because most time caterers would only, if the wedding is at 4 o'clock, they would probably come in and cook in the morning, on Saturday morning. So this just gives us an opportunity to have another event on the Friday when we didn't rent it out. Go ahead, Director Saski.
I just want to also comment, so our old way of doing it, Hall A and B, was $7.50 per day on Friday, Saturday, Sunday usage. So really, that fee's only increased $50 a day. If you want to rent it the old kind of standard way, it's the $800 per day. The other side of it too is this is just the fees and charges. So when you formally book at the social center, there is an agreement. The prior fees and charges bylaw also did not have any of those details about when they have to be out of the hall or this or that. That is set with the formal contract. So once they rent the hall, they also have to sign a formal contract, and that's when it stipulates when people have to be out of the hall. Like this one does make homage to like the insurance policies they should have, but then it has all those requirements in there. Like if they break dishes or if they do damage, that's all within the contract that they sign upon booking.
Councilor Barry.
No.
Okay, thank you. I was just going to add to that with some of the explanation that you're getting there right now, then what might satisfy this is put an asterisk in beside the bracketed Friday to Sunday, and say it's dependent upon the contract that is, subject to contract restrictions.
Contract limitations.
Yeah, okay. Do we want to include that as a friendly amendment to the motion?
Everybody owns the motion, right?
Very good.
Okay, so the motion is that we're just gonna add that.
Subject to contract limitations.
Okay,
Yeah, so the motion on the floor is to add language about including, that the fees include the kitchen and, subject to contract, hours for the usage times.
Sorry, I do have one more question. So those that will have rented for 2023, because I know that there are lots of books that are already on the docket, will they be subject to the old contract or the new contract? How does that work?
I would imagine when they sign their agreement.
Yeah, if we have written agreements in place and people have paid, we'll honor those agreements. This would be for anything new.
So just to be clear then, anybody that's already booked on the prior contract will receive potential benefit from booking prior to the change in the fees and fees schedule, which will be in place as of January 1st.
Not anybody that's booked, anybody that's already signed the contract.
Which they should have, so, okay, that's a good clarification to say it that way, because there will be potentially some confusion about that. So just to be clear, anybody that's signed and booked in 2022 will have a different.
Well, it will be honored what the other
Okay.
bylaw represented.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
They would have the option potentially to do this, because it might work better sometimes, right?
It may work better for them, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, call the question. All those in favor to the amended wording to be included into this schedule? Go ahead.
One more. Page 30, Schedule V, recycling fees. Just clarification, so on the current bylaw, it's $7 per month per dwelling, and now it is proposed to be $8 per month per dwelling. Just the explanation, and where will it be billed?
We already did that
Three fees.
in our budget. We already included that. Okay.
That's the $1
Yep.
user fee, one of three.
Okay. Councillor Barry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think most of my questions have already been answered. I will have a couple, but I wanted to say appreciate the fact that we're doing a bit of a workshop during council here because the timing to get this work done. So I think your administration has done a lot of work on this, and typically we would have had a workshop prior to this point in time. I just have a couple of questions. The one is going back to the family punch pass on the aquatic center. So if a family obtains a 10 punch, then that is good for adults and children.
Correct, the whole
So,
family.
yeah,
becomes
so a
a-
family of 5 would be able to enter twice, put it that way, sort of thing. Because you've got 10 punches?
No, a family is allowed per punch. So my family of three
Okay.
shows up at the pool, they punch us once.
Just on the family, all right.
Yeah, so
Okay,
one punch
that
per
makes it
family
even
visit.
better. All right,
Yes.
that makes it better. Thank you for that clarification. And the other one is I really didn't actually notice it here, but I thought something that had been said in Ledge concerning the water price, the price per meter. Is it increasing this year as of January the 1st, or are we awaiting information on that?
Director Lefebvre has got some correspondence lately.
The correspondence that we received, I believe, is that we were still waiting for the results of their Thursday meeting, the John S. Badiak Water Commission. So we have not received word yet. We're anticipating there will not be an increase.
Sorry, then I'll step in. I seen the letters that were sent,
Okay, I haven't seen it yet.
and we passed a motion on the Water Commission that there'll be no increases.
Okay.
So we decided during budget, if there was no increases coming, that the water prices would stay the same.
Okay, so that we won't be looking for a supplemental change of pricing on the water at some point in time this year then?
That's not planned.
Okay, thanks. That's all I was interested in mainly, is whether we had that definitely settled for this bylaw. And it appears we do, so thank you very much.
Okay, so if you could read the amendments back to us, and then I'll look for a motion to pass.
I'm sorry, I just found one more question.
Okay, Councillor Curtis, go ahead.
Just on Schedule V, just some clarification for me on, under landfill tipping fees,
What page is that?
30 again.
Oh, V.
Schedule V, landfill tipping fees. There's a euthanized domestic animal per cubic meter charge.
The only euthanized domestic animal that we accept is from our local veterinary clinic. And he doesn't bring us one every time it needs to be euthanized. They are held, and they are delivered to us in cubic meters.
That's good. I did not know that.
That makes sense.
Okay, so we can hear the amendments. And then if everybody will listen, so we'll get this done so we can take a motion to pass the amended bylaw.
Thanks, Your Worship. So starting off with the first one, it was motion by Councillor Rudick, 3-month grace period for the paper statement fee. Then the second one was motion by Councillor Bullock, and it was to keep the 2021 rates for seniors. The third one was actually defeated, so I won't go over that one. And then the last one was also a motion by Councillor Bullock to amend the language there, the hall, wording around hall A and B to include the kitchen, and then putting our asterisks subject to limitations for the weekend rates.
Okay, so I'll be looking for a motion to support the passing of this new fees and charges bylaw with the amendments included. Councillor Berry makes the motion. We are for the first reading. Are we doing all 3 readings tonight? Okay,
Yeah, we have it set up that way.
okay. All those in favor? Carried. Take a motion for second reading. Councillor Lemko makes the motion. All those in favor? Carried. I'll need a motion for unanimous consent. Councillor Wawa makes that motion. All those in favor? Carried. And one more motion for third and final reading. Councillor Rudick makes the motion. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much, Director Saskew and CEO Leggett and Director Lefebvre. We can move forward with this new fees and charges. Next up, council reports. Councillor Berry.
Thank you, Your Worship. Rather short. December the 6th, alleged meeting and followed by a council CAO meeting. Tonight's regular meeting, and the only other thing that I was involved in related to 2 things. It's the St. Joseph Hospital. On the 8th, some of us board members got together at lunchtime, and lunch was brought in, and we served the staff a Christmas lunch in appreciation for their work that they do in the hospital. And in conjunction with that, for the first 12 days of Christmas, on each day, a staff member's name was drawn, and that individual then got one of the 12 days of Christmas gifts, and myself and 1 or 2 other, whoever could come as board members, would show up there around 2:30 in the afternoon and present it to the individuals whose name was drawn that morning. And it was a great way to meet some staff that you normally wouldn't meet. I got to see the laundry room, I got to see the x-ray room, I got to see a number of other areas as we delivered and gave presents to, including the young lady today who greets people at the door and says, "Put on a mask, please." So I think it was well received, and I think that it was a nice thing for the hospital staff to receive some appreciation. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bullock.
Okay, well, for me, so on December 1st, I participated in a webinar, Alberta Innovates Scale Up Growth Leading and Learning. Really what was interesting takeaways from that meeting was they're talking about social change, scalability of kindness, and cultural collaboration. And some of those really interesting things. They were also looking at ecosystem builders, and they want to implement more empathy into the way they do things. So that was really interesting takeaway from that. It's actually a 4-day webinar. I was only be able to participate in 1 day. So that's what I have on that one. December 6th, Legislative Committee meeting, the CEO meeting. December 8th, I attended Reading with Santa at the Vegreville Centennial Library. On December 8th as well, Economic Developers Alberta Match Factor Information Webinar. That was quite interesting. So I don't know if anyone else in the economic development heard about this one yet, but they're talking about succession matching with businesses in your community for the businesses that want to get out, sell their business, and they're having trouble to find buyers, believe it or not. So they figured it would have been harder to sell business, or would have been harder because of the pandemic, the businesses for sale. There's actually more, but less people, or there is more people wanting to buy them, but just trying to get that succession planning there. So Match Factor is working on that with the Economic Development Alberta, and they're looking for a pilot project to start this April 1st, and they're looking for 10 businesses in the value of $2 million to $20 million. And they're looking at Ukrainian immigrants and how they could work them into the program. So that way the landed immigrant would be able to work themselves in and have a chance at owning a business down the road. So that's what this program is about. So I found out a lot about that, so I could actually share that link with everybody. I got the link to the recording of it. So I'll share that with everybody on council as well as our economic development department. The Chamber Christmas Gala and tonight's Town Council meeting, and that's all I got.
Thank you very much. Councilor Warlow.
Well, pretty much many of the same. Of course, we mentioned before we enjoyed being back at the town Christmas party and being able to spend some time with staff. Then on the 6th, the CEO council meeting and legislative meeting. On the 8th, I got to attend the Alberta Legislature as a guest for the Speaker of the House for the tree light up, and he told a story to the room about a visit with his family to our Pesinka. So we invited him back here again and said it would be nice to see him out here. So that was an invitation set out. I also attended the Chamber Christmas party, and you know, I think it's really... nobody knows what these events are going to look like as they're the first time again after a couple of years, but I think for the first time coming back, it was a nice sized crowd. It was nice to see, and a good job yet again. And then I have tonight's council meeting, a little bit quieter session.
Well, I think you left out one part about you attended the Ledge Christmas party. What else happened there?
The giving of the Pesinka?
Yeah.
Okay, so while we were there and he was talking about the Pesinka, it actually was just good timing because we went around the room and there was a small number of us, and we started off in the speaker's office, but then got to go to the speaker's suite. And we're waiting there to go down on the steps of the legislature, and is when he told the story about being out in the Pesinka. And fortunately, I was armed with our Vegreville Pesinka ornament, which I was able to give to him, and they actually placed on the tree in the speaker's suite. So our Pesinka is there. And yeah, it was a really good time. It was very nice to see people outside afterwards. The weather was wonderful because it had been about minus 45 at the wind chill on the Tuesday, and by Thursday it was only -5 outside. So when they lit up, they were able to hit everything for the skating rink outside. There was kids skating, hot chocolate on the grounds. So it was really nice to see, and the Lieutenant Governor was in attendance at the same time. So it was good.
Good job. Thank you. Councilor Riddick.
Well, since we last met, I've had a few local meetings and lots of away meetings. So I was in Ottawa for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Advocacy Days, which was a great opportunity to be able to meet with our board and committee members from across the country and talk about our major advocacy pieces leading up to the federal budget. Those are with regards to the new infrastructure investment, making sure that the renewal of infrastructure funding pockets are supportive of municipalities, remembering, of course, that 10 cents on every dollar that is generated in taxation is what municipalities receive. and acknowledging that the current formulation is outdated and doesn't meet the needs of municipalities, and trying to find a better way to be able to do that, because we need to build in a different way in some cases, considering transit or intercommunity transportation, such as the ones that have been brought forward by some of our local economic development agencies that are non-traditional forms of transportation, as well as airports or ports. Also, one other pillar is, of course, climate resilience and disaster mitigation adaptation fund, and talking about that, as well as housing. And housing is one of the challenges, because it happens in community, and as we've talked about at this table before, that municipalities have a role to move housing in terms of zoning, planning, and permitting, but the actual builders of housing traditionally is private investors, and or in some provinces it is municipalities. So we know in our various roles that the challenges around housing, whether it's seniors, those that are homeless or unhoused, as well as those that are just looking to purchase a property, or investors that are trying to build multi-housing dwellings, we need to be supportive in our role as municipal leaders. And of course, our burning issue of RCMP retroactive funding was a major advocacy piece. So had the good fortune of being able to meet with those from the biggest cities to the very smallest communities. And similar to the opportunity to be able to provide our Pisinka Christmas decoration to the legislature, I was also able to provide a local souvenir, our beautiful Pisinka tree decoration, to the Prime Minister. So I will share that with our communications team to be able to share and highlight Vegreville. I also wanted to make special notice, I've shared this with our communications team, that there was a rollover 2 Sundays ago, and the first person on the scene happened to be the mayor of Saskatoon. And so he just happened to be driving between Edmonton and Saskatoon back home, and he and his family were the first on the scene, peeled back the windshield of a truck that had rolled 4 times, and just happened to be there. He wasn't doing it for the glory, and certainly wasn't doing it for the recognition, but just sort of highlights the fact that sometimes these highways have a lot of traffic going back and forth, and the opportunity to be able to help presents itself. And he certainly didn't need to stop, but he did, and wanted to make special mention of that. One last meeting that I want to draw attention to is our MD Minburn Foundation. We've been doing a lot of conversation at that table, and I'll leave it to the chair, Councillor Lemko, to talk about some of those details. But suffice it to say that we're doing a lot there, and especially at the end of the year, we are just taking a look at the budget to date and the renovations that we've been doing to make the rooms larger. The previous size of some of those rooms without in-room suite was without a bathroom. It's 160 square feet, which is extremely small, particularly when we're talking about moving seniors from which could be a very large house to literally a room. And so the good news is that the money that we've spent on renovating these suites and enlarging them is paying off. So the return on investment will probably be within 2 years, but we've had an increase in rental income this year already, because we have more suites that are rented. So the good news is that the work and the decisions that are being made there are reaping rewards almost immediately. So very happy that we're making those positive moves for the community, and really widening our circles in terms of who we're talking to, and making sure that we're having the fulsome conversation. So that is my report.
You didn't happen to ask when they're gonna open the STIP ramp? Again, was there any conversation around that?
Well, we didn't ask about STIP, but ISIP is one of those that we're talking about. And just for key messaging about infrastructure investment, there are a lot of infrastructure pockets, and there are some things that FCM has asked for specifically, so that, for example, wastewater is always oversubscribed. There's a desperate need to be able to meet the new guidelines that are coming out to make sure that we're, regardless of the size of the municipality, that they're able to meet those requirements. And STIP is one of those two, or ISIP is one of those two that is a challenge because there are some provinces and territories that have left the money on the table and they're clawing it back. So that's a huge problem. We were able to make a workaround here in Vegreville, but it shouldn't be dependent on the will or the goals of a provincial government to see a project to the end. And there are some provinces where municipalities are being left in the lurch and they can't proceed. STIP is one of those challenges that the transfers from the federal government to the province is not always happening seamlessly, even with the bilateral agreements in place. STIP is one of those. So it's definitely one of the reasons why the advocacy piece around infrastructure highlights the fact that it's an outdated regime and it doesn't meet our modern needs.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Curtis.
Thank you. Started on December 5th, we had our VTAB meeting. So a couple highlights of that. We recapped our tourism-related initiatives approved in the budget, so your Pasanka Putt Putt and your Christmas Light Up and sign rebate, etc. Shared that with the members. There's an upcoming meeting with Travel Alberta regarding regional tourism initiatives, and that's going to be held on the 21st, and a few of us are going to attend that. And depending what comes out of that too, it might be something we can work into our regional framework that's coming. It'll be a little bit down the road, but if we have some good ideas that might fall into that, I think it's a positive. And then we had a discussion on the transition plan with the resignation of our tourism and culture coordinator. So Anya is gone, and we all know that. So at least right now, it's not busy season in the tourism side of things. So we can recoup and think and put together a good plan, and hopefully have somebody to fill the role in the coming months. December 6th, we had the Ledge meeting and the CAO meeting. December 12th, so today there was a Family Day planning meeting with the FCSS department. So Family Day is coming up Monday, February 20th. I was in the meeting, I got called away, but I did call Latanya back and ask what part of the meeting was a portion that I could contribute to. And there will be an ask coming again about the breakfast. Previous year, due to COVID, we said no. So that'll probably be coming back on the plate, and hopefully soon. It gives us a little bit more time to think about it than previous years. So, and then our council meeting tonight.
Thank you very much. Councillor Lemko.
Thank you, Your Worship. I attended the town's Christmas party. So after a number of years on December 2nd of no party, it was nice to see the staff being able to go out and enjoy a meal, share fellowship with each other, and be able to celebrate Christmas season. So it was nice to see smiles on the faces and the staff enjoying themselves. On December 3rd, I attended the Queen's Platinum Pin presentation at the Vipers game, and our councillor, Warawa, received the Queen's Pin, and the mayor presented her with the pin and the plaque. So it's nice to see her recognized for the amount of work she's done in the community and beyond. On the 5th, I attended the Tourism Advisory Board meeting, which Councillor Curtis mentioned all the stats there. The 6th, the Ledge meeting. The 7th, the 12th, today, I've been involved with the Ukrainian Task Force stakeholders for the settlement of Ukrainians in Alberta. It's led by MLA Jackie Armstrong-Hobin, who's the Parliamentary Secretary for Ukrainian Settlement. I've attended 3 meetings already, and the meetings were to identify ways the government of Alberta can support Ukrainian newcomers to Alberta in the immediate term and longer term with their physical, financial, and spiritual needs. The stakeholders that were at the table are from all over Alberta, and they bring the challenges that they face. We've been there the 3 times, and we discussed, we're a rural setting, so a lot of the challenges are urban in nature, so they're listening to that. Tomorrow, I'll be in on another Premier's Task Force meeting, and it talks about the areas which municipalities are struggling to provide support for evacuees in Ukraine, and what the government of Alberta can do to further support municipalities like us. So there's a number of municipalities that'll be on that. Mostly they'll be cities, because we're the only rural one that's been there. So this is once the task force has had a chance to summarize all the data, there might be something coming out of that. Certainly an interesting part to be on. As a result of that, also I've been involved in a couple conference calls with Action for Healthy Communities. They reached out to us to talk about resources they can give to us to assist us with that. And they wanted mainly to listen to see how well we've done as a community in supporting the Ukrainians. The model that we've used is probably the only one in Alberta that's working as well as it is. And then today I talked to the Alberta Association of Immigrant Serving Agencies, who reached out to us for the same thing and how they could assist us with providing resources or links to resources on settlement. So that was today, and it's certainly not only with the Immigrant Service Society, it's not only tied to the Ukrainians, but it's a resource and a link. And once all that comes together, I'll have a better report as to what that is. Today's Minburn Foundation meeting, to add to Councillor Rudick's comments there, we're looking to do a needs assessment for our facility. So it'll be a study done on what the needs are in the community for senior housing and such. And we're looking at a facility that will probably be an age in place for a higher level of care, to get to that L4 or what they say. So that was discussed today. We're going to just talk about the strategies around how we can do it on a bigger setting, maybe the community and with what's going on there. I want to send out, I went to a Christmas Bureau meeting the other night, more as a sit-in to understand what's going on with the Christmas Bureau. And kudos to that group of committee members who are working this time of year, like many hours. We're looking at 150 plus gift baskets that are going out this year. The needs in the community are huge. Taking a presents for over 130 kids. And all that's put together and the donations that are coming in to support that, it shows that the people of the community support and help support that. But the challenge we have is that that need is in our community, and we can see it, and they can see it there. It's more than it's ever been. So kudos to them for putting all this together. They do it for nothing but just their sheer hearts into that. Same kudos go out to the food bank people who are out and about gathering food, and their demands are huge compared to, I would imagine, some of the people with the Christmas Bureau asks our food bank people. And in looking at around the community, the amount of boxes that are dropped off at food bank locations to that, as we have here in our place, the community supports that as well. So kudos to the people who are doing the work behind the scenes, and kudos to the community for supporting it financially and with goodies in the bag. And tonight's council meeting, Your Worship, and that's all I got.
Thank you very much. And, it's nice, the Christmas Bureau and the food bank, and people need to understand too that it's not just they just don't work within the town of Vegreville borders. When you say community, the need is outside our community, and the people that are donating and the people that are volunteering their hours is something special. So on Wednesday, November 30th, myself and the Manager of Economic Development, Communication and Tourism went to his first hub meeting and made quite an impression, I think, on everybody there. So all went good. On December 1, I tried to attend the taping of the Talk of the Town with Director Saskew. I don't think they used anything I said because I just couldn't get my head into it. Anyway, was talking about the budget and stuff, and thank you, Director, for picking up what I couldn't do. Then I had a Teams meeting with some mayors in northern Saskatchewan and the Mayor of Lloydminster, and our ongoing efforts to try to reach out to Via Rail and move them to the North Line track and get them off that South Line track. And we've made 3 or 4 other meetings and met with the ministers, and I have not personally, but some members of our mayors have. And we're sort of getting stonewalled a little bit, but we'll figure it out. On December the 2nd, I did an interview with the news advertiser regarding questions they had about the budget for 2023. Attended the town Christmas party. It was nice to see everybody back in the room again, and to those people that organized it, and it was a very, very good, very nice, well done. On the 3rd, I got to present the Platinum Jubilee pin to Councillor Warwawa at the Vipers game. Congratulations. And on December the 5th, I had a meeting with our MLA, or Jackie Armstrong Hominick, and a member of Invest Alberta, and it went very well. On the 6th, the Ledge meeting, and I had another meeting after that. Sorry. The Ledge meeting, was it on the 6th? Yeah. Yeah, so I left that meeting and had a conversation with Minister Dreeshen in transportation, and then we had our CAO council meeting. The 7th, Manager Jameson Brownlee and myself and Sandra met with the Elks and the Kinsmen, and to go over some of the changes that they'll be seeing in the wayfinding signs and the naming of the park, and they're taking it back to their individual committees, and we're waiting for some response. On the 8th, I had a conversation with Jameson and the firm that we have hired to help structure our new economic communication and tourism department, and it went very well, and looking forward to their follow-up questions. I had a meeting, the John Escatook Water Commission, and tonight's council meeting. So that's what I've been up to. Thank you all for what you do out there and on your boards and dealing with situations in the community and answering questions. So at this time, is there any other business of council? Seeing none, I adjourn the meeting at 8:35.